Hi, welcome to a video with Ingenuity Marketing Group and Sykes & Company. I'm Rachel Gold, and I'm here today with Alan Sykes, who's going to talk to us about how to know how well your accountant is performing. If you're an independent pharmacy owner, we're going to look at simple ways to know that your accountant is doing the best they can for you throughout the year. So thank you for joining us, Alan.
Good morning, Rachel. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
So do you want to talk about, I know we've discussed a couple of issues like extensions. What are some of the ways that an independent pharmacy owner working with an accountant right now knows that their accountant is doing the best that they can for them?
Well, I think the number one thing that a pharmacist working with their local accountant can make sure that's being handled properly is to first and foremost know where they stand monthly using accurate numbers that their accounting system is producing. In most cases, many of the pharmacists out there are using some type of QuickBooks product that is on the market today, a very popular product that's being used. And unfortunately, a lot of those cases, the pharmacists are using that QuickBooks product as a check writer only and maybe a place to enter deposits that they make from time to time. And the accountants that are really trying to help those pharmacists really should be managing that process at month end, making sure that the reconciliations of third-party receivables, the payables, notes, tie in with subsidiary information that is available, and of course making sure bank accounts are reconciled and tied in and all payroll tax liabilities agree. But essentially making sure that the basics of the balance sheet and the P&L of that pharmacy are generating good, solid numbers is critical to a pharmacist being successful. And at the same time, not only making sure those numbers are valid, but then interpreting what those numbers are telling that pharmacist becomes part and parcel to the entire process as they go during as month in, month out occurs. And, of course, utilizing that same information in the planning for taxes, retirement, or whatever the case may be, or bank financing if that's needed. But having that information available for all those horses and being proactive, working with them on an ongoing basis. Those are all very critical things that we do here to make sure that our pharmacists know and understand where they are vis-a-vis their peers and in the industry.
And one of the things that's really complicated, I've heard, in terms of pharmacies in general, is that the third-party reimbursements, the insurers, making sure that those numbers are being attended to. Can you say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, because third-party scripts make up such a large percentage of today's scripts that are being filled by the typical pharmacy, and because those margins are generally compressed, in a lot of cases way below 20%, and if they're brands, way below 10%, it's so important to make sure that the breakdown of any cash scripts that a store may have, any Medicaid scripts that store may have, and any other third-party scripts, that those margins are optimized to the absolute maximum possibility that they can. And that includes the breakdown of brands versus generics that a pharmacy may be filling day in and day out, month in, month out. And certainly the trends in that particular area are such that generic filling of scripts is substantially higher today than it was 2 or 3 years ago because so many popular items like Lipitor, for example, have come off patent within the last year. And as those kinds of typical drugs that are filled come off patent and go into generic, while the total aggregate revenue per pharmacist script may fall, it has the potential that the gross margin for a generic fill becomes dramatically higher on a percentage basis. But it's important in that scenario that the pharmacists keep the numbers up that they fill to an appropriate level to make sure that their gross margin dollars are adequate to take care of the operating overhead that they have. But all of that tying into what they may think they have little or no control over is very important.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. So, also one of the things that we talked about a little earlier was, the only time you shouldn't be getting calls from your accountant only at tax time. And I know you've talked about the work that you do in terms of tax planning towards the end of third quarter, going into fourth quarter. What should pharmacies look for from their accountant in terms of tax planning?
Well, I think it's important that the CPA working with the pharmacists keep ongoing regular communication with the pharmacist during the course of the year. Sometimes monthly, especially during the busy first quarter of the year, is not possible because these guys don't have time to talk and dig down into numbers. But certainly, while the fundamentals are being taken care of, the CPA in the background should be commenting and providing feedback to the pharmacist to let them know how they're doing, how they're comparing maybe with the prior period, saying with the same month, prior year, same quarter, prior year. And by staying on top of and by being proactive in that regard, it naturally leads into the other planning parts, which may include retirement plans, may include bank financing needs, may include other life planning goals and objectives they have, whether it's in the insurance or disability arrangement areas. And it also clearly ties into the tax planning aspects as we begin to get into the fourth quarter of the year. And it's so very important. We've just come out of the fourth quarter of 12. And I know we spent just the last 2 or 3 months doing nothing but helping our pharmacists maximize where they wanted to be for the end of 12 and making sure they understood what their cash flow needs were going to be.
Excellent. And then I know that, sometimes we hear about pharmacies being put on extension when tax time rolls around. When is it okay to be put on extension? And when, if you're put on extension year after year, should you kind of start to wonder what's going on in your accounting situation?
Well, our policy here is not to put any client that we have on extension unless there's an overriding reason why the client needs and wants to go on extension, keeping in mind that most of the reasons or times that we see where clients have gone on extension have been because of the accountant, not because of the client. And by the CPAs being proactive in helping their pharmacy clients and keeping their information up to date during the course of the year, that really shouldn't be even an option in my view, even though they may need an extension of time to pay some retirement monies, which certainly that's an odd item sometimes is a situation. But dragging the tax return out to the summer or the early fall of the year after year-end close is just, in my view, not an option. And it's somebody's not putting the pharmacist first and foremost if that's taking place.
So it sounds like some of the key things to look for to see if your accountant's performing well is that you're getting your monthly financials, that you're getting help looking at your margins, that there's year-round communication, active tax planning, and ideally not on extension unless you, the pharmacist, need that. Have we missed anything in that list of the kind of checklist of accounting health?
Well, just the other thing to emphasize, I think it's vitally important that pharmacy know where they stand vis-a-vis their peers. If they have a $4 million store, they need to know, and that's about the average NCPA store with the latest stats that I've seen. They need to know where they stand vis-a-vis that norm. They need to know which areas of their expense side of the equation are out of line, whether their margins are in line or out of line, whether their balance sheet has the strength that it needs to finance the ongoing third-party float of receivables. Inevitably is the situation. But that would be the other key factor that I would put on the table for you, Rachel.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us today and explain all of that.
My pleasure, Rachel. I hope you have a great day.